After the car accident, I decided to mess with my wife and daughter by pretending to have amnesia. Who are you people? A flash of glee crossed my daughter's eyes. She pulled in the man standing just outside the hospital room. Mister, she said to me, my mom and I are just here to visit. My wife, standing beside her, said nothing, tacitly approving our daughter's choice of words. Mister, my mom and I are just here to visit. The clear, childish voice echoed in the room. With my forehead wrapped in bandages, I looked down at my 5-year-old daughter, Lucy, holding a hand of each of the adults with her, a mischievous smile on her face. Isabel, dressed in a tailored business suit, had no intention of correcting our daughter. Instead, she just watched me with a probing gaze. The man Lucy was holding onto wore a simple white shirt. He had a gentle, almost scholarly air about him, and he cleared his throat, looking a little uncomfortable under my stare. When Lucy saw me looking at Jackson, she stepped in front of him protectively, on high alert. If I really had lost my memory, I would have thought I was looking at a happy, loving family of 3. Lucy tugged on Isabel's hand and whispered, Mom, since Dad has amnesia, does that mean you two can get a divorce now? She may have been whispering, but she controlled the volume just enough for me to hear every word. I knew her little game. She was punishing me. I had scolded her yesterday and embarrassed her in front of the staff, and she was still mad. This was Lucy's typical brand of mischief. She loved to punish me for fun, but I didn't feel like playing along with her pranks anymore. Since I'd already claimed to have amnesia, I might as well keep up the act. Pretend I didn't have this daughter or this wife. Excuse me, who are you? Lucy looked surprised with a hint of panic. You really don't remember me? You can't possibly forget me. I'm your favorite kid. Isabel frowned, her cool eyes glinting. Her voice was sharp with impatience. William, stop pretending. The doctor said it was just a mild concussion, nothing serious. Don't think you can use amnesia to get out of the divorce. Yeah, stop faking it. You love us so much. How could you forget us? Lucy's defiant glare was a carbon copy of Isabel's. All I felt was a headache coming on. Before I could say anything, a nurse knocked on the door. The patient needs to rest. Anyone not directly involved, please step out. Without another word, Isabel and Lucy left with Jackson. The young nurse came in and said to me, your girlfriend was just here. She went out to get you some soup. My girlfriend? My brain couldn't quite process that. Didn't you just kick my wife out? The nurse blinked. Yeah. I actually worked on this floor 4 years ago, and I saw you two a few times. You're such a good-looking couple. It's hard to forget. 4 years ago? That was when Lily was seriously ill. She was, in fact, at this very hospital. The nurse continued, and you were one of the few people who wasn't glued to their phone. You were always pacing anxiously outside the door, waiting for your girlfriend to finish her exams. So tall and handsome and so devoted. You made all of us young nurses believe in love again. By the way, who were that woman and the little girl? They're gorgeous, but their faces were so cold. They looked like they were here to collect a debt. I couldn't help but laugh. During Isabel's pregnancy, she had 14 prenatal checkups. She never let me go to a single one. It was always her mother or a friend who went with her. I didn't bother explaining my relationship with Isabel and Lucy. After all, we were about to have no relationship at all. A few minutes later, Lily came in carrying a food container, slightly out of breath. I was starving. I hadn't eaten all day, and my stomach was starting to ache. Lily quickly opened the container of congee, set it on the small table, and neatly arranged a spoon, napkin, and cup of water. Here's some warm water, and this is your favorite congee with pork and preserved egg. You eat first, and I'll peel an egg for you. I accepted her care without a second thought. From the moment I first met her at 15, Lily, the daughter of an old friend our family had helped support, she had automatically become my most steadfast protector. After a few bites of congee, the pain in my stomach finally eased. I looked up and saw that Lily's eyes were red. You have no idea how scared I was when I heard you were in an accident, she said, her lips trembling and her voice catching. A lump formed in my throat. Who wouldn't be terrified after a car crash? I was just lucky nothing vital was injured. I was afraid Isabel and Lucy would worry, so I thought I'd play a little joke and pretend I had amnesia to lighten the mood. But how can people with no heart worry about you? I was discharged from the hospital a few days later. I insisted to the doctor that I remembered everyone and everything perfectly, except for Isabel and Lucy. After my release, the doctor told Isabel that I was suffering from temporary amnesia due to the concussion and that my memories would slowly return as I recovered. I went back to the house I shared with Isabel. The sound of a beautiful piano piece drifted from the living room. Jackson and Lucy were playing a duet. When the piece ended, Jackson gave her a thumbs up. "Our little pianist is amazing." Lucy blushed and giggled. "It's only because you're a great teacher." It was a perfect picture of father-daughter bliss. I walked upstairs without changing my expression. The smile vanished from Lucy's face when she saw me. Jackson quickly stood up. "Mr. Quinn, how are you feeling?" I stood on the stairs and nodded at him. "Much better now. Please, continue." I didn't hate Jackson. I was just jealous of him. Jackson wasn't the other man in my marriage to Isabel. He was her first love, the one she could never forget. And even though Isabel and I were married, a certain saying rings true. The one who isn't loved is the real third party. When Isabel was 18, in the prime of her youth, I saw her fall for someone with an intensity I'd never witnessed before. Last month, Jackson's family declared bankruptcy, and he was forced to return to the country. He used all his savings to help cover his family's debts. But as a music major, he had trouble finding a high-paying job here. Isabel found him and offered him a job as Lucy's piano teacher for $60,000 a month. "My new daddy is the best. I love my new daddy the most," Lucy shouted in the living room. "Miss Vance, I'm not. Please don't call me that," Jackson said, looking at Lucy with some embarrassment. Lucy pouted at his formal address and hugged his leg affectionately. "I'll get mad if you call me Miss Vance again. You have to call me Lucy. You're so much nicer than my dad. I like you the best." She glanced up toward my bedroom, and seeing that I hadn't come out, she continued, "Can you live with us? I want to see you the second I wake up. My mom already said it's okay, so why won't you? Our house is so luxurious. You can have whatever you want." Isabel had, in fact, suggested that Jackson move in. We had plenty of rooms, it would save him the commute, and besides, he was broke. But Jackson insisted on renting his own place and declined her offer. "Miss Vance, Lucy, you should practice today's piece." Lucy shook her head, determined to get him to stay. "Are you afraid of my dad?" "Don't worry. Mom and I will protect you. He does whatever my mom says. He won't do anything to you. Lucy is my daughter. She's smart, and she knows exactly what to say to hit my sore spots." I put on my cufflinks and walked out slowly. Seeing me come downstairs, Jackson looked troubled. "Mr. Quinn, it's all right, Jackson. You can stay here. I know your commute on the bus takes 3 hours each way." I took the shoes the butler handed me. "Don't feel pressured. I'm glad you're back." Lucy was taken aback, staring for a moment. In the past, whenever her mom got drunk and muttered Jackson's name, her dad would clench his fists, his eyes turning red. Yes, Jackson's visit last month wasn't the first time Lucy had seen him. She had secretly seen the photos of him her mom carefully kept in a drawer and heard her whisper his name when she was drunk. This gave her the ultimate weapon to punish her dad. But now that weapon wasn't working. "I want ice cream. Get me 2 scoops. No, I want 10. The only response she got was the sound of the front door closing behind me. After days of being cooped up and disheveled in the hospital, I was finally out and needed to unwind at the club. The driver was already waiting for me outside. Inside, Lucy's expression hardened. "Miss, here's your ice cream," a servant said, rushing over from the freezer. "Who wants this?" She threw the ice cream on the floor. She stared intently at the closed front door. Had her dad really forgotten her? When Isabel's father, Mr. Vance, found out Jackson was back in the country and that Isabel had hired him as Lucy's piano teacher, he rushed over with several boxes of expensive gifts. On the sofa, the distinguished gentleman patted Jackson's shoulder. "Jackson, my boy, you've really been through a lot. If you had just accepted Isabel back then, with the Vance family backing you, your family would never have ended up in this situation. Jackson looked alarmed. Mr. Vance, you can't say things like that. The past is the past. I'm already so grateful that Ms. Vance was willing to offer me a job. What's not to say? I feel completely at ease with you teaching Lucy, Mr. Vance said, patting his shoulder again, satisfied. He leaned in and whispered, Isabel is getting a divorce. The moment you came back, she decided to file. What else could that mean? Don't you worry. Even Lucy adores you. You won't be mistreated in our family. And Isabel will help your family get back on its feet. Mr. Vance hadn't called ahead to let me know he was coming, even though he knew perfectly well I was home. I took the hint and didn't come out to interrupt their reunion. It wasn't just Isabel and Lucy who adored Jackson. Isabel's father was also a big fan. Long before I married Isabel, Mr. Vance had wanted Jackson as his son-in-law. Jackson came from a well-respected, scholarly family, a good match for the Vances. When Isabel fell for Jackson at first sight, Mr. Vance was thrilled and immediately began planning to unite the two families. Unfortunately, Jackson didn't like Isabel. He rejected her confession outright and went abroad to continue his music studies. Though Mr. Vance was disappointed, his admiration for Jackson only grew. He saw him as a young man with ambition and conviction. And me? I came from a modest background. Everyone assumed I was a social climber, marrying Isabel for her family's wealth and status. I could tell Mr. Vance looked down on me, even despised me, but his good manners kept him from showing it too obviously. Sometimes I think that if Jackson had married Isabel from the start, it would have been a happy ending for everyone. My phone buzzed. I opened it. A text message notified me that the insurance payout for the car accident had been deposited. I thought that with time, the fear would make me forget what happened that day. But when I close my eyes, it all feels like yesterday. It was pouring rain, and Isabel and I were on the interstate. Someone called her. I could clearly hear the voice on the other end. Ms. Vance, a group of debt collectors is heading to the Jacksons' family home. They're going to cause trouble for the eldest son. Isabel glanced at me. I knew she wasn't asking for my permission. She was telling me she was going to Jackson's house to find him. We were heading in the complete opposite direction. I said softly, just drop me at the next service area. I'll get a cab home. The moment I got out of the car, even though I opened my umbrella instantly, I was soaked. The black Bentley sped past, splashing a sheet of water in my face. A rusty relationship on another rainy day. The taxi I hailed was an old clunker. It started to hydroplane on the wet interstate. The moment the car spun out of control, the hair on my arms stood up. I quickly fastened the seatbelt in the back. My heart hammered against my ribs, my mind a complete blank. With a loud bang, the violent impact slammed my head hard against the window. In that instant, time seemed to slow down. My life flashed before my eyes, an uncontrollable reel of memories, and every single one revolved around Isabel. 10 years old. My parents took out a huge loan to buy a villa in one of New York's most exclusive neighborhoods. That's when I met Isabel. My parents told me I had to be careful to please her, that she was an heiress from the city's elite. Isabel was beautiful, and I was happy to play with her. I followed her around like that for 7 years. 17. I think I fell in love with Isabel, but she hated me. The year I loved her most, her friends called me a social climber, and everyone else called me her little shadow. Teen. Isabel fell in love with Jackson. I watched from behind as she orbited around him, and then watched as she fell into a depression after he broke her heart. 21. Isabel got drunk and cried in my arms, mistaking me for Jackson. She kissed me. I should have pushed her away, but my hands wouldn't move. My family's company was in financial trouble and needed a massive cash infusion. And marrying Isabel had been my parents' dream, and mine, for over a decade. I quietly endured it. For as long as Isabel held me, she called out Jackson's name. Her grandfather, the patriarch of their traditional family, soon found out what happened. He ordered Isabel to marry me, for me to take responsibility. 22. Isabel got pregnant. The baby was difficult. She suffered from severe morning sickness, and the birth was a nightmare. Memory is a tangled web of pain. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a hospital bed. My whole body ached, and my head was splitting. 27. At my bedside, my daughter called another man daddy right in front of me, and my wife said nothing. I pretended not to care, but 1,000 tiny moments cut me like glass. The people I couldn't bear to lose were hoping I'd leave sooner rather than later. I chose silence. Maybe happiness was never meant for me. Do you speak cruelly to the people you love? I wanted to ask Isabel and Lucy, but seeing them with Jackson, I think I already knew the answer. Isabel fell for Jackson at first sight, and Lucy adored Jackson from the moment she met him. It was the first time Lucy had ever shown such affection for anyone else. People always cling to what they fall for at first sight. Lucy was becoming more and more like her mother, in looks, personality, and even taste. They both loved Jackson. I never considered Jackson the third party, because from that night on I was the one who had stolen something that belonged to him. The source of all suffering is the pursuit of the wrong things. I think this marriage has reached its end. It's time to give Isabel and Lucy back to Jackson. In fact, Isabel had the divorce papers drawn up the day Jackson came back. She'd wanted out for a long time so she could pursue him again. As she wished, I called the family lawyer and met him at Isabel's office. I agree to the divorce, I said, looking at her calmly. Isabel seemed surprised. Mr. Davis, the lawyer, handed us each a copy of the agreement. I quickly signed my name with a few swift strokes of the pen. But when it was Isabel's turn, she paused, her knuckles white as she gripped the pen. Mr. Davis hesitated. Ms. Vance, you can take some time to think it over before you sign. I understood how she felt. You can get attached to a dog you've had for a while. And I had been following her around for 16 years. I get to keep Lucy, she said, her eyes testing me. I nodded. I didn't want either of them anymore. She looked at me again, deeply this time, searching my face for the sadness, pain, and reluctance she expected to see. She found none of it. She tightened her grip on the pen and signed her name with what seemed like a flash of anger, the ink bleeding through the paper. I was too busy looking over the asset division agreement. Satisfied, I left her office. In the empty, silent office, Mr. Davis shivered, feeling a chill emanating from Ms. Vance. Ms. Vance, should we announce the news of your divorce? No, he's just throwing a tantrum. After saying this, Isabel seemed to have convinced herself. Even the deep frown on her brow relaxed. Don't let a word of this get out. He'll come back on his own. He just has amnesia. He's forgotten me and Lucy. He loves me so much, he loves Lucy so much. He'll remember soon enough. The doctor said the amnesia was only temporary. Once he remembers, he'll come crying back to me, begging to get back together. This divorce can be his punishment for forgetting us so completely. When he comes back and apologizes, I'll forgive him and we'll remarry. Isabel's gloomy mood instantly vanished. She picked up her coffee and took a sip. Mr. Davis was sweating bullets. He pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his forehead. The papers were signed, the assets divided. Was this really just a tantrum? I thought I would be heartbroken to leave the place I had called home for 6 years. But instead, I felt a sense of release, as if a heavy chain had been lifted. I was no longer anyone's husband, no longer anyone's father. I didn't have to please anyone anymore, didn't have to worry about who might not like me. I waited until they were both out of the house. Then I called 3 white-glove moving companies, spending tens of thousands of dollars. I had them pack up all my designer suits, watches, cufflinks, and collectibles. Also my baking equipment, a cabinet full of custom-made dinnerware I'd carefully selected, a few pieces of furniture I'd grown accustomed to, and many of the decorative items I'd bought. I even packed up some of the expensive gifts I had bought for Isabel and Lucy. They both hated them, and the gifts had been relegated to the darkest corner of a closet. They wouldn't even notice they were gone. In that case, I might as well sell them secondhand. At least they could serve some final purpose. Now that we were divorced, seeing those unwanted things around would probably just annoy them anyway. There was a lot to pack, but thankfully I'd hired 3 companies. With enough manpower, everything was packed and loaded onto the trucks in under 2 hours. The house suddenly felt vast and empty. When Isabel came back, she would probably think the place looked much cleaner and tidier. She never liked having too much stuff around. Now it was all gone. I had thoughtfully left plenty of space for the new man of the house. Before walking out of the gate, I took one last look at the villa. I would never be back. Mr. Henderson, the butler, stood at the gate, secretly wiping away tears. "Sir, are you really leaving?" Mr. Henderson had been here since I moved in. He was always kind to me, treating me with the affection a father would show his own son. I think, in this whole house, he was the only one who would shed a genuine tear over my departure. I took both of his hands in mine and smiled faintly. "You should be happy for me. This is a good thing." Isabel's side was efficient. The assets were transferred quickly. I used a fraction of the money in my account to buy a sprawling 2,200 square foot condo I'd had my eye on last month. The previous owner had emigrated, and it was already decorated in a chic Parisian style. I fell in love with it at first sight. No renovations needed. I could move in the same day. I quickly signed the contract and had the movers bring all my things over. I'd already hired a few professional organizers, and in half a day, all my belongings were neatly put away. Money well spent. I relaxed on the lounge chair by the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the view. My life could finally start over. Lily soon arrived, carrying bags of all sizes. She was the first person I told about the divorce. It had become a habit over the years. I told Lily everything, big or small, and she was always unconditionally on my side. "What's with all the stuff?" I saw she was carrying a mountain of groceries. "Your first meal in a new home has to be homemade." I bought some things. As she spoke, she began neatly arranging everything in the fridge. "I got fruit and milk. It's getting cold, so let them sit out for a bit before you eat them." Also, she was such a little den mother. I couldn't help but tease her in my head. Suddenly, I saw one of the boxes on the floor give a violent shake. I jumped. "Lily, that box is moving." Lily heard me and smiled. "That's a present for you. Come and open it." I was a little hesitant, but then I heard a faint meow. My eyes lit up, and I scurried over. I carefully opened the box. Inside was a beautiful British short-hair kitten with golden fur. I crouched down to get a closer look. The kitten Lily had chosen was incredibly friendly and immediately started rubbing against my leg. My heart melted. Because Isabel was a neat freak, I'd never even considered getting a cat. And the only person who knew I loved cats was Lily. I scooped up the kitten and practically shrieked with joy. "Lily, you're a mind reader." I played with him for a while, naming him Marshmallow. Lily quickly finished cooking dinner. She put a piece of sweet and sour pork on my plate. "Are you going to be okay by yourself tonight?" She was a little worried, probably afraid I'd do something stupid, given how much I used to love Isabel. "Don't worry. I'm the one who asked for the divorce. I don't feel anything for Isabel anymore." It's like the car accident knocked some sense into me. Crazy, right? Lily looked at my relaxed expression and saw I wasn't faking it. She finally broke into a relieved smile. "I'm so happy you've figured things out. Isabel never deserved you. Now that you're divorced, are you thinking about coming back to the company?" Before I got married, I was the one who helped my dad manage the company. After the wedding, my dad handed the reins to Lily, who was only 18 and still in college. The company's shareholders were in an uproar. But my dad's instincts proved right. In just 2 months, the company's revenue had tripled. After that, Lily managed the company while finishing her degree, successfully becoming one of the most promising rising stars in the business world. I did want to go back, but I hadn't worked in 5 years. Lily put down her chopsticks and looked at me. "With your skills, you'll pick it up again in no time. Have you forgotten the person you were, shining in the business world?" My heart pounded. I still remembered the thrill of closing my first major deal. I nodded, agreeing to return to the company. A couple of days later, it was my dad's birthday, so Lily and I went home together. I nervously told my parents. I got a divorce. My father's face darkened, and he raised his hand to strike me. "Dad!" Lily shouted. My mother ran over and stood in front of me, hugging me tight. Her voice choked with tears as she yelled at my father. "What are you doing? We've already ruined the first half of our son's life. He's an adult. Let him make his own choices. Give him his life back." A sudden wave of grief washed over me, and I held my mother, sobbing. My father's eyes reddened, and he slapped himself hard across the face. "It's my fault. I'm useless. I knew the Vance family was a viper's nest, but I still pushed you to get close to Isabel. I'm the last person who has any right to judge you." My mother led me to the sofa. "William, if you want a divorce, then get one. Your father and I have seen how things have been for years." She glanced between me and Lily. "William, let Lily move in with you to take care of you." I felt like it would be too much of a burden on Lily. Besides, I was a grown man. Why did I need my little sister to look after me? I can take care of myself. "With the kind of food you cook? It's a miracle you haven't poisoned yourself yet," my mother said dismissively. At the mention of my cooking, I laughed sheepishly. I love to cook and experiment with recipes. In Isabel and Lucy's words, my creations were gourmet disasters. But luckily, Lily always loved my cooking, so I'd kept up the hobby. At that moment, Lily was looking at me nervously. "William, you've never lived alone before, and there are a lot of things at the company I need to go over with you." That did make some sense. Even I wouldn't eat my own cooking, and I couldn't order takeout forever. And since I was just returning to the company, I really did have a lot to learn from Lily. Oh, and there was Marshmallow. I'd need Lily's help with the litter box. I immediately agreed. Lily breathed a sigh of relief, and my mom smiled. "Who else but Lily still treats you like a child?" I thought my mom had it backward. If anyone was the child, it was Lily when she was with me. I missed the little girl who used to cling to me all the time. Work was hectic, but it had been a long time since I'd felt so fulfilled. It was like leveling up in a game, and it filled me with energy. I worked a few hours of overtime before heading home. The lights were still on. Lily was waiting for me. I had always been the one waiting for Isabel to come home. This was the first time someone was waiting for me with a home-cooked meal. A smile crept onto my face without me realizing it. I walked into the living room and found Lily had fallen asleep waiting for me. I tiptoed over with a blanket. As I got closer, I froze. Lily was asleep on the recliner. Her small frame made the chair seem enormous. Lily had grown up. I'd never really thought about her that way before. But looking at her now, Lily had an incredible figure. I lowered my gaze, my eyes landing on her nightgown. The neckline was a little loose, offering a glimpse of her delicate collarbone and the soft curve of her chest. Her skin was fair and smooth, glowing softly in the lamplight. Just looking at her made my heart race. If I were to hold her in my arms, how would she react? I shook my head violently, trying to clear the image. I must be drunk. My mind's a little fuzzy. I bent down to cover her with the blanket. As I did, I glanced up and my eyes met a pair of clear, captivating ones. She startled me, and I lost my balance, tumbling right on top of her. My cheek brushed against the soft hollow of her neck, and a sweet fragrance filled my senses. My face flushed red. I tried to get off of her, but the rocking of the recliner made it impossible to find any leverage. I'd push myself up a little, the chair would rock, and I'd fall back onto her. This is forced cuddling, I swear. Lily's hands settled on my waist. She sat up, steadying the chair. "William, what are you doing?" Her voice was still husky with sleep. I held up the blanket, awkwardly hiding my face. "I was just trying to cover you." She let out a low chuckle, her chest vibrating against me. That's when I realized I was still sitting on her lap. Mortified, I threw the blanket over her head, scrambled off her lap, and bolted to my room. After a few more days, I had a good grasp of the company's operations. I felt light and carefree, humming a tune as I walked. In the parking garage of my building, I spotted Isabel's car. I grimaced, mentally counting the days until I could go to City Hall and get the divorce certificate. But Lucy was blocking the elevator. "Mom told me to come find you," she said, still holding a grudge, as if to say, don't get any ideas. She told me to apologize. She turned her head away, looking petulant. I'm sorry. Calling Jackson daddy was just a prank. She pouted. How was I supposed to know you really lost your memory? It's okay, I said softly. Lucy turned to look at me, her eyes brightening for a second. I looked at her and continued. Your mother and I are divorced now. You can call whoever you want daddy from now on. You don't need to apologize to me. Jackson will be your new dad soon. He's a good guy and you already like him. You'll be much happier. She followed me all the way to my front door and showed no signs of leaving. Is there anything else? If not, I'm closing the door. Lucy's eyes widened in disbelief. I already apologized. And you're not going to forgive me? You're going to regret this. With tears welling in her eyes, Lucy stared stubbornly at my back as I started to close the door. It was the first time I had ever been so cold and heartless with her. She yelled angrily at the closed door. How could you do this to me? When you get your memory back, don't come begging me to forgive you. I won't forgive you even if you get on your knees. The first time Lucy ever said something like that to me, I hid in my room, secretly devastated. I kept questioning myself, wondering if I had failed as a parent, why my own daughter didn't like me. I felt like I didn't deserve to be a father. But now was different. I felt nothing. The bond between me and Lucy was severed the moment she called another man her father. I often suspected Lily was trying to seduce me, but I had no proof. For instance, right now, Lily was making me coffee, dressed in casual loungewear. A soft cotton t-shirt and yoga pants. She looked like a college student. Wait, she did just graduate from college. So young, I thought, sighing contentedly from the sofa. Look at that figure, that waist. A beautiful sight to behold. No wonder everyone loves looking at beautiful women. Lily walked over with the coffee. I immediately pretended to be engrossed in a magazine. I took the coffee and sipped it. Just as Lily sat down, Marshmallow leaped onto her lap and settled in. My gaze was drawn to him as he started kneading on her legs. My eyes wandered over her body without me realizing it. Lily leaned close to my ear, her breath a warm whisper against my skin. William, what are you looking at? My ear tingled, my breath hitched, and my eyes darted around nervously. I was just saying the cat's gotten a lot bigger. I fled back to my room, my face burning. I sent a text to my best friend, Mark. Ever since Lily moved in, I feel like she's trying to seduce me. Do you think I should start a new relationship? Mark immediately called me, his voice bursting with excitement. Dude, it's about time you opened your eyes. A gorgeous woman has been in love with you for years, and you're just now figuring it out? My mind was a mess. She likes me? I thought she always saw me as a brother. I clutched my chest, wondering where this sudden flicker of joy was coming from. Duh. Anyone with eyes can see she's into you. You have no idea. She only acts like a sweet little angel around you. To everyone else, she's an ice queen who doesn't take crap from anyone. So, you're divorced now. Why not give Lily a chance? She's way better than that toxic ex of yours. My head is spinning right now. I've got enough on my plate with the company. I can't think about anything else. I hastily hung up on Mark, only for another call to come through immediately. I answered. It was Isabel. William, Lucy has a fever. She keeps asking for you. Can you come home and see her? For some reason, her voice on the other end held a hint of pleading. I walked out onto the balcony, letting the wind cool my face. I spoke softly. Isabel, I've made that same call to you several times. I was a first-time father, too. Every time Lucy got sick, I would be completely lost, unsure of what to do. Even with the family doctor there, my hands would tremble as I called Isabel, begging her to come home early. And what was her response? Her cold voice from back then still echoed in my ears. You're a grown man. How can you not even take care of one child? William, her voice was hoarse. You had a good point. So now I'm just going to focus on taking care of myself. William, did you get your memory back? Her voice was cautious in a way I'd never heard before. I never lost my memory. Not for a second. I'll see you at City Hall in a month. And don't think that once my memory returns, I'll come running back to you. I spoke each word clearly. There's no future for us. I heard the sound of a glass shattering on the other end. I didn't wait for her to reply. I hung up and blocked her number. I'd unblock it in a month when we needed to finalize things. After that day, I started seeing Isabel around frequently, but she would just sit in her car and watch me from a distance, never interfering with my life. Maybe it was resentment, or maybe it was that perverse human trait of wanting what you can't have. Whatever it was, when I saw Isabel now, she was just another stranger passing by. Today was Sunday. I opened my door to find Lucy standing there with a large photo album. She made herself at home, squeezing through the crack in the door and sitting on the sofa. She'd completely forgotten how she'd told me to get on my knees and beg for her forgiveness the last time she was here. Lucy opened the album and pulled me over. Daddy, look. This is a maternity photo of you and Mom when she was pregnant with me. Aren't I cute? Grandma said I was the cutest baby in the whole hospital. She was trying to reawaken my fatherly love for her. But looking at my own picture, all I felt was a deep ache of pity for the man I was back then. In the photo, Isabel was as radiant as ever, while I looked exhausted and haggard, forcing a smile. I had a few new gray hairs. Lucy had been a fussy baby, always crying when I was at my busiest. Looking at the photo, I couldn't help but mutter, so selfish. What did you say, Daddy? Lucy asked, looking at me with confusion. In this picture, your mother is glowing, and you're only focused on yourself. You have no idea how much I sacrificed for you. Lucy was incapable of empathizing with me. She would never understand what I gave up for her. She was just like her mother, a refined egoist. I closed the album. You should go. These photos only bring back painful memories. Lucy threw a tantrum and refused to leave, but eventually, the Van Cess butler came and took her away. Still not giving up, Lucy came back a few days later, this time with a ceramic plate. Daddy, look. This is the plate you made for me with your own hands. You said you worked on it all day. Oh? Then why is it broken? She stammered at a loss for words. But I knew why. She had smashed it. She thought it was ugly and would be embarrassing to take to school. A flying shard of ceramic had cut my arm, leaving a faint, permanent scar. I have zero artistic talent. This plate was the best-looking one out of a dozen I had made. In the end, Isabel bought her a piece made by a professional artist to take to school. And this one, I glued it back together piece by piece. But some things, once cracked, can never be truly repaired. This one's defective. I casually tossed it into the trash can, where it shattered into pieces. Since you have a new replacement, there's no need to keep this one. Lucy stared at the broken plate, frozen. Then another thought seemed to strike her, and she looked up at me with delight. Daddy, does this mean you got your memory back and you remember me? I shook my head. I never lost my memory. I just don't want to remember anything about you and Isabel anymore. I didn't bother explaining further. I just sent her on her way. Lucy left, looking completely lost. Tonight I had a business dinner. Lily found out and insisted on coming along. She was worried I'd drink too much, but it turned out her tolerance was even worse than mine. Since we'd both been drinking, we couldn't drive. My place was nearby, so I supported her as we walked home, letting the cold air sober us up. Taking advantage of her drunken state, I asked casually, Lily, do you have feelings for me? Her dark eyes suddenly sparkled. She stared at me silently for a long moment, then quickly looked away, her face flushing as she nodded emphatically. My heart began to race. I changed the subject. What were you drinking just now? She thought for a moment. I think it was brandy. Really? Stand still and look at me. She obediently stood still and looked up at me. Her lips were soft and full, with a perfect Cupid's bow. I leaned in and kissed her. It was sweet, with the fragrant aroma of liquor. I licked my lips, savoring the taste. Lily's eyes widened in a mixture of drunkenness and shock. I acted nonchalant. Yep, definitely brandy. I started walking again, leaving Lily frozen in place, a blush spreading from her cheeks to the tips of her ears. She quickly caught up and hugged me tightly from behind. Her body slightly bent as she pressed her cheek against my back, filled with a childlike joy. She kept murmuring, "William, I like you so much." The moment we got home, Lily seemed to sober up. She pinned me against the door. "William, can I kiss you?" When I nodded, her eyes lit up with a fierce, hot intensity, like a puppy seeing a bone. We kissed all the way to the bedroom. She placed a light peck on my collarbone and seemed to feel me tremble. She stopped, leaning close to my ear. Her voice was moist and soft. "William, don't push me away again." In the darkness, I untied the sash of her nightgown. At a party hosted by one of Isabel's friends, she sat morosely drinking by herself. She caught snippets of gossip from the people around her. Suddenly, with a loud crash, Isabel shoved a nearby table over. "What did you say?" "Lily is just the daughter of an old family friend the Quinns sponsored, and she's been in love with William this whole time?" Isabel's face instantly darkened, her voice colder than it had ever been. Isabel exploded with rage. Her eyes were bloodshot as she smashed every bottle on the table onto the floor. The air grew thick and still. It was the first time any of them had seen Isabel lose her temper. They stood there, trembling, afraid to speak. A fatal question suddenly occurred to Isabel. Lily had never once called her sister-in-law. She had also never called me by my last name. It was always just William. That manipulative bitch. Isabel immediately drove to Lily's company. She stormed into the office, grabbed Lily by the collar, and slapped her across the face. Isabel gritted her teeth. "You've got some nerve. I treated you like a sister, and you were lusting after my husband." Lily wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of her mouth and laughed with contempt. "You, my sister-in-law? You're not worthy. Why don't you open your phone and check your chat history with me?" Though confused, Isabel took out her phone and found her message thread with Lily. It was easy to find. Isabel contacted her every so often about something. As Isabel scrolled through their conversation, her face grew paler and paler. "Go with William to his follow-up appointment. He's in a bad mood and won't eat at home. Go over there. He's been in a really bad state lately. If you have time, take him out somewhere to clear his head." "I don't have time. William has a fever. William's throwing another fit. I don't have time for his drama. Go check on him for me. William was in a car accident. You need to go take care of him." Lily had replied instantly to every single message. Lily had never initiated contact with her. She had never initiated a visit to see me. It had always been Isabel's idea. Throughout their marriage, every time I was hurt or sad, it was Isabel who sent Lily to be with me. Lily had been playing the role of a wife in their marriage all along, and she was only just now realizing it. She used to marvel at how close the two of them were, like real siblings. Lily was the CEO of a publicly listed company, yet the moment Isabel sent a message about me, she would drop everything and come running. Isabel's hand trembled as she scrolled through the messages. Lily slapped her back, hard. Isabel didn't flinch, taking the blow full on. She stumbled back, steadying herself against the wall. Lily stared at her coldly. "Finished reading? What's your takeaway? I've wanted to give you that for a long time. Let me ask you, when William was in surgery after the car crash, his life hanging in the balance, where were you?" Lily answered for her. "Your husband's life was on the line and you were in another country with Jackson at a music festival. And why was he in that accident in the first place? Because you abandoned him on the interstate for Jackson. Where were you when he was sick and suffering? Did you ever once think of him as your husband when you cast him aside time and time again?" A bitter taste filled Isabel's mouth. She wanted to argue, but it was all true. It felt as if a hand were squeezing her throat. The words caught, her mind a complete blank. When I heard from an assistant that Isabel had stormed into the company looking for Lily, I immediately called security and headed to the top-floor office. "Isabel, what do you think you're doing?" The moment I stepped out of the elevator, I saw her, furious, grabbing Lily by the collar. Security moved in to restrain Isabel, and I stepped in front of Lily. The swollen, red corner of Lily's mouth was stark against her fair skin. Her eyes welled with tears, looking utterly pitiful. My heart ached as I gently touched her face. "Is this how you were raised?" I asked Isabel, my voice calm. Isabel swayed slightly, because in my eyes, she saw pure disgust. "William, I'm hurt too." I looked away and led Lily out. "Security, show her out. And from now on, don't let any unauthorized people into the company." Isabel sent Lucy to find me again. Perhaps she thought my fatherly love for Lucy could keep me tethered to her. But I was no longer the man I used to be. "Young lady, you need to stop coming here. Your mother and I are divorced. I am no longer your father." Hearing me call her that, Lucy panicked. "Daddy, I want to eat your terrible dinners. I want you to read me bedtime stories. I want you to hold me while I sleep." "Lucy, anyone can do those things. You're just not used to me not being around." I turned to leave. Lucy grabbed my pant leg, her voice choked with sobs. "That's not it, Daddy. I really know I was wrong. That day was just a prank. I don't like Uncle Jackson at all. I promise I'll never do it again. Mommy's a liar. She said you'd come back when you got your memory back. But you remember me and you still don't want me. Grandma told me how hard it was for you to take care of Mommy when she was pregnant. I was so bad when I was little, and I was always making you angry." I looked down at her. "Lucy, never wait until you've lost something to appreciate it." Lucy hugged my leg, tears streaming down her face. "Daddy, have I lost you? This is the last lesson I will teach you as your father. I hope that in the future you will not speak cruelly to those you love or those who love you. You must learn to respect others so they will respect you. When people get hurt, they leave." Lucy was crying uncontrollably, snot and tears everywhere. She knelt on the floor, clinging to my pants. "Daddy, give me one more chance. I'll change my bad habits, I promise. I won't be like Mommy. Please believe me just this once, Daddy. I'm your little girl." I helped her up. "Lucy, the fact is that your mother and I have separated. I will never go back to that house." She wiped her tears. "Daddy, if you don't want Mommy, then I don't want her either. If you won't come see me, can I still come see you? I promise to be good. That's up to you. Some lessons you can only learn the hard way. Without hitting rock bottom, you can't have a true awakening." I just hope that Lucy can let go of her arrogance and prejudice and become the good person she's capable of being, without breaking the hearts of those who love her. And I hope she doesn't follow in her mother's footsteps. I had just signed a major deal at a client's office and was heading back to my car when I ran into Jackson. He invited me to a cafe for a drink. "Mr. Quinn, back at the hospital, I thought Lucy was just testing to see if you really had amnesia, which is why I didn't say anything. For that, I truly owe you an apology. I never should have interfered in your and Isabel's life. And I especially shouldn't have accepted the temptation of money to become Lucy's teacher." Jackson lowered his head. "My divorce from Isabel had nothing to do with you. You don't need to blame yourself. I know you're not that kind of person." I actually owed Jackson a favor. He was in my class for a short time during our sophomore year of high school. Back then, Jackson was practically royalty in the NYC social scene, but he was never arrogant. He was always gentle and kind, with a very strong sense of self. 17-year-old me was vain and desperate to fit into Isabel's circle. They often made fun of me, but Jackson never did. He told me that the universe only revolves around you when you make yourself the center of it. Turns out, he saw things much more clearly than I did. I quit that job after you left. I've realized I can't live my life relying on the Vance family's pity. I need to become strong on my own. I opened my phone and sent a file to Jackson. To repay my debt to him, I had secretly investigated his family's situation. They were a centuries-old company, more noble than merely rich. Their sudden collapse was suspicious. I had found some evidence of shady dealings by his relatives overseas. He could handle the rest himself. His family had a good chance of making a comeback. Their foundation was strong. Even a shadow of their former selves was more than most. Jackson was grateful when he saw the file. Then his thoughts turned to Isabel. "So you and Isabel," I pointed out the window. Lily was standing outside, patiently waiting for me in a beige coat. He smiled, a genuine smile this time. I wish you happiness. Isabel really doesn't deserve it. Jackson left, telling me that Isabel wanted to see me. Isabel began reminiscing about all the wonderful memories we supposedly shared. I cut her off. You can go back to the past, but there's no one there waiting for you. Isabel grabbed my hand, her voice thick with emotion. William, I'm sure of it now. The one I love is you. Only you. I pulled my hand away. I spoke very seriously. Love doesn't need confirmation. Only uncertain love needs to be constantly reassured. She continued to plead. William, tomorrow is my birthday. You always used to pick out a gift for me yourself. I countered. Isabel, did you know that last Sunday was my birthday? Isabel's lips thinned. She thought for a few seconds, her face filled with regret. See? The person you love most is yourself. I'm sorry. I'll throw you the biggest birthday party to make up for it. I shook my head. This wasn't about a birthday anymore. Don't bother, Isabel. You still don't get it. A mischance is a mischance. I've already made the appointment. Let's go to City Hall tomorrow and get the divorce certificates. It was only after I left you that I finally learned to love myself. So please, do me a favor and don't bother me again. I turned and ran towards Lily. She had been waiting for me in the cold for a long time. I wasn't going to make her wait for me ever again. Isabel. The moment I truly realized I had lost William was when I held the divorce certificate in my hand. Before that, even on the day we signed the papers, I was recklessly confident. I truly believed that once William's memory returned, we could go back to the way things were. But I never expected it. He never had amnesia at all. A wave of immense panic washed over me. It felt like something vital had slipped out of my heart. People are always creatures of hindsight, never truly understanding the value of something until it's gone. Started scrolling through his old social media posts, looking at the daily moments he used to share with me, reading through our old text messages, seeing him describe things to me so vividly, I couldn't help but smile. His messages used to be so interesting, but our chat history was mostly long paragraphs from him, with very few replies from me. I rarely even read them. Slowly, he started sharing less and less, until he stopped messaging me first altogether. A person's desire to share never disappears. It just gets redirected. So he started telling Lily about the small things in his life. Without me even noticing, Lily had woven herself into every part of William's life, and I never paid any attention, assuming they just had a close brother-sister relationship. I had always basked in his affection. I was used to being loved. I just kept taking. I thought he would never leave. It was only when I truly lost him that I finally woke up. I did love William, but William was gone. Lucy was gone too. She said she was going to boarding school. She didn't want the staff taking care of her. She said she could take care of herself. After Lucy left, I was the only one left in this massive house. It didn't feel like a home anymore. There was no warmth left. William was so cruel. He didn't leave a single one of his things behind for me. Sometimes I envy Lucy. At least she gets to see her father every week and can call him whenever she wants. All I can do is drink myself into a stupor day after day. Memories of him by my side haunt me constantly. Endless self-blame and regret, hating myself for all the missed opportunities. The thought cuts like a knife every night. I met the man who loved me so much so early in my life. I could have been so happy. I ruined it all. Looking at our only wedding photo, tears streamed down my face. Why couldn't a future version of me travel back 6 years and tell myself not to hurt him, not to push him away, not to let him go? If I had another chance, I would hold his hand so tightly that not even death could tear us apart. But there are no second chances. He's getting married. Just a few months ago, he was my husband. My mind is in chaos. How did this happen? I told Lucy the news that her father was marrying Lily. I wanted her to feel the same pain I felt, to see how cruelly her father had abandoned us. But Lucy wasn't sad. She was happy for him. Dad is happy with Aunt Lily. I want him to be happy. Yes, even a child could see he was happier with Lily. What right did I have to complain? I went to his wedding. The wedding I never gave him, Lily gave him. Lucy volunteered to be the flower girl. The wedding was magnificent. I never realized how handsome William looked in a tuxedo. I wish you happiness. Thank you, he said with a radiant smile. He had moved on, and I had lost my chance at happiness forever. I will never be happy again. This is my greatest punishment.